Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to have Ashley back. So, Ashley, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
So, Ashley, can you please tell everyone what your type is again?
Sure. Yep. I'm a visual, so FM, NETE, play, consume, blast, sleep.
All right, and you're an ENFP.
And I'm an ENFP. I never say that part. It's not as cool.
Okay. Um, and then we'll talk about your social type as we go along during this discussion. So let's start with your journey so far with your double feminine SF sleep last. Our original interview, I think it was quite a while ago. Was it 2 or 3 years ago or something like that?
Yep.
What has the journey been like since then, like working on that double feminine SIFI sleep last?
So I've had to hijack play really to do it, to be honest. I have a really good friend in the community. Klaus is one of my good friends in the community. And so a lot of times, like if I have questions about that, or if I just want to uh, use play to kind of process what some of the SIFI type things, I'll give you an example just to kind of make it easier. Like songwriting is something I used to do when I was in high school. And that's a really easy way to access my double feminine SF animal there. And so like we had shared some music and got onto this movie that is super good. Um, and of course, I'm not going to remember the sensory. It'll come later. So I ended up watching that movie and being able to write a song. And I haven't really written a song in years since high school. And I mean, that was, gosh, over 13, 14 years ago or whatever. And so working on that just means that I'm reflecting about like, yeah, what matters to me, what's most important, how I'm going to prioritize the things that matter to me, right? The SI, how am I going to get there? And honestly, I don't really feel like I've gotten like super far in the last 3 years, if I'm just going to be really honest, because I just feel like SI at the bottom, feminine, is super hard for me. And the only way I can really access it is through my FI. I otherwise have a hard time. And even then, I rebel against it. So
You rebel on using your FI or your
my
SI or both?
well, probably, damn, both probably. I didn't even think about that. So essentially, I'll give you another example. I am running I'm starting to run my own business, baby steps, coaching, in the fashion industry where I was before. So just teaching women how to like build core wardrobes and doing it through a faith-based model. And so I really do have to have like a schedule, right? And I have to like set time aside for my work, but I will rebel against myself and do something else. Now, part of that is just I need to rewire my brain because I have old habits that need to die, right? That live in the SI. But also I think part of that is just feeling overwhelmed by the sensory that goes into running your own business.
Right, gotcha. Um, so there's also many aspects of SF sleep. So let's cover each aspects and see where you are in each of them. The first
Thank
one is,
God you're
sorry.
so thank God you're organized in that. Go for it.
Yeah. Let's go with the first one is the actual sleeping. Like, how's your sleep quality, and is it easy for you to sleep and get eight hours of sleep minimum and whatnot?
Generally, as long as I don't have a lot on my mind, right? Because again, if you're not processing during the day, most of the time I'm good. Although again, just starting up this business, my husband also started a new venture just recently. And so there have been like off and on times where because I'm processing things like worries or, how am I going to do this thing or get becoming a little anxious about all I have to do the next day, then sometimes not. But I would say most of the time I can sleep pretty well. My ideal is like 7.5 hours and I'm good. If I can get solid 7.5, that's fine.
And then what about the next aspect, which is exercise routine? Like, how's that for you?
Well, I'm naturally a pretty active person. I live in a basement, main floor, two-story house. Like I'm up and down the stairs a lot, but I don't have any like routine for that right now. Um, and that's something that I have rebelled against because it's like I haven't, I don't know, given myself enough TE reasons yet. I'm sure I will because again, I just have gotten away with it. I'm just being honest. I'm thin. I haven't like really gained any weight since I was in high school. I think I'm only like a couple pounds heavier. Like when I say a couple, I literally mean 2 or 3 pounds heavier.
Right.
So
I see. Because I work in the fitness industry, and I feel like for women, like working out is for your bones. It's like, oh, you don't want to get osteoporosis, when you're in your 50s and 60s, right? So that's like how I see it. It's like, because most people, when they correlate exercise, they think of like losing weight or something. But then I feel like, no, it's for your bones. It's for your bones. You don't want to get fractures.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let's go over the next part, which is like eating healthy. What's like do you have like an SIFI routine for like healthy eating and stuff?
I love to cook and I'm very like I eat very well when it comes to that kind of a thing. Lots of, fresh fruits and veggies and we eat, organic and grass-fed as much as possible based on like what we have inventory wise here. So I would say that's where I've really been very strict is to have high quality foods in my house. I'm not like terrible when I go out, but I'm still cognizant, I'm aware. I really struggle with sugar, but at home I'm better because I can control what sugar is in my house. And so I just don't buy it, like the treats and stuff, and only make for special occasions. And I use mostly honey and like maple syrup. So I would say that's probably the place I'm doing it the best is eating habits and just again, love to cook. I could cook all day and be fine.
The last one for routines is health routine, like mental health routine. Like, how are you processing your emotions? Like, do you have a routine for that you follow?
I just hack play. My husband is also high play. He's consume play, ISTP. And so honestly, he sees before I do when I need to process a lot of the time. He can just FE feel the vibe. And yeah, I process a lot out with him. And so that's honestly like a big part of my mental health is because he's just a really, really encouraging, good spouse and asks a lot of good questions with that TI. And yeah, so that's probably a big part of it. I don't do any journaling right now. Um, I do a lot of like I do have my thing. So like I really like to do like the Jordan Peterson, like I like to consume his stuff. And so I do. And then Klaus and I chat about it like once a month-ish, a little more. So I'll chat with him about that. That's kind of like one of my things to kind of like decompress and think about something else that isn't like kids or business related. So I feel like that kind of helps me with my mental health. Like I have friends outside of not just Klaus, like Brian's another really good friend in our community that I like to talk to about like this stuff to like decompress. But I don't know if you would call that a mental health routine, but I think I'm just like one thing that I'm processing and I'm not done processing, so I won't break it down right now, but how can I like take each of my animals where they are in the stack and what my functions are within those animals and like list out what I can do with each of them that's like super healthy. Like what is play really good at? And instead of overdoing it on crack all the time, like how can I like list out this is where play can really help me in whatever area. And same thing with my consume, my blast, and my sleep. I literally just kind of started thinking about this week and then do that, you know?
So you're using what's needed for the moment, kind of deal.
Yeah, or like what do I enjoy within each? So like
Okay.
how do I most enjoy play? How do I most enjoy consume, blast, and sleep? And then that way if I'm like, "Hey, I need to blast a little bit more, how can I get into my blast in a way that like I like enjoy?" That's what I'm processing. Sorry, I have nothing beyond that. So, you'll have to
It's
check in
all
with me
good.
in a couple.
It's all good. It's all good. So I was poking fun of you earlier. I was like, "Are you in prison, Ashley?" Because like, because you're like a visual, right? And then your background's just like a wall.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know.
so and then you said something interesting. You're like, it's like a metaphor of your life, where like if you said if you look at your kitchen or whatever, it's like really nice, but like your bedroom's the last one that you took the time to design and stuff. So let's talk about that a little bit because your sleep lasts. That means um your inner world is the most least approach. You're like you've taken the time to help everyone else, and then you've neglected yourself essentially. So can you share a little bit about that? And are you still kind of in that place in your life, or do you feel like you're providing enough self-love for yourself, or like where are you at in that space?
Yeah, I'm definitely moving forward in that one of the biggest mental breakthroughs doing OPS and studying it was that I was doing way too much enabling in my friend circle and my family circle, in that I was trying to take on the responsibility of, maybe keeping the communication going if it was with my friends, taking on the responsibility of as many things as I could within my household and not like equipping my kids, for example, like to do the chores, or not equipping my husband to feel confident in, making a couple simple meals, or like, it's almost like a little bit of that IJ swing of control. So part of that is like Enneagram 8, like part of that. But I think the other part of it was just like the extreme, the sleep last, the DE, just like feeling like I had to do everything for everyone or be everything for everyone, where now I've kind of like let go of some of the friendships. Not like I dismiss them, but like if I wasn't getting pursued back, then that's fine. Like then I'm just not as like high value to them and that's okay. Or like my kids like slowly releasing some like responsibility and like also, hey, like I need to teach them how to think for themselves too by having them be more involved in the process of, making decisions or what we're going to do or how they're going to run their school day because I homeschool. So I am making progress. Is it like obviously it's never where you want it to be, but yeah, I'm I'm feeling like I'm doing better saying no and drawing boundaries and going, I don't need to commit myself to that because it doesn't serve my higher purpose goals that I have right now. So I do feel like I'm getting better.
Um, I was gonna say something, but I lost. Oh my god, you know what? I don't have feminine SI, but I forget things all the time. It's so annoying. Like it's almost like feminine SI, but it's not because I obviously have pretty good memory. But then um so annoying. I lost my train of thought. Okay, I'm gonna ask you something else then. All right, so I'll ask you about the social type. So you mentioned that before you were in, okay, I remember my question now. So would you say you're the person that would chase friendship and relationships in the past because you're like double activated play? Because you said now that you've gotten a chance to think about it more, there's certain friendships that they don't seem to value you as much as and then which is cool, which is fine. So then
Mhm.
you're not cutting them off, but it's not like you're gonna pursue it anymore. But before, when you were younger, would you say you were like more actively pursuing all these relationships that wasn't reciprocal or wasn't fair?
I think that when I was younger, it was easier because, like, when you're in high school, it's really easy, or middle school or whatever, to kinda, like, bop around and do the play, and, again, the people that I'm saying, like, I'm not pursuing, it's not like I'm, not friends with them anymore, it's just that if they're not willing to carve out time for me, I'm not gonna keep pursuing them to carve out time.
Right.
So, when I was younger, I didn't notice it as much, to answer your question, because we were in tighter circles, and then, of course, outside of college, when I got married and it was in a different town, it just was kind of like, well, distance made it hard, so it it just is what it is.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally relate to what you said because like I had the same thing happen to me also where like when I was younger I also didn't notice when I was that certain people didn't care about the friendship as much as I did, and then now
Yeah,
I'm older, like especially during the pandemic I remember I cut out a bunch of people but I brought some back in, but some of them
yeah,
like, and then I also like gauge on how I felt after the cutting out. So if I absolutely felt horrible about it afterwards and it's lingering, I know it. I treasured that friendship and then I mended it with that person. But if I felt great after, I'm like, oh shit, does it mean this friendship was never good to begin with? So it's kind of shocking. So when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I totally relate to that. And yeah. So I want to talk about social type next. I think you're a two, and you also think you're a two. You haven't been officially typed, which is fine because I think David Chan said, people can just type themselves. It's like pretty obvious, right? And then even how you describe yourself, you're like, you have a business, which is like a typical thing that twos would have is like gravitate towards starting their own gig. And but like also in your family, you said that or your friends, you're like enabling people to do certain things. You're like spinning your wheels when you should just actually just focus on yourself, like specialize.
right.
Um, So what made you come to the conclusion that two made the most sense for you?
The thing that makes the most sense, I guess, here's the thing. I just remember discussing it like briefly a little bit with Klaus and then reading some of the information. And I think it had to do with more of a process of elimination. Like I knew I wasn't specialized and I knew I wasn't a number one because I don't have that. I will never think I'm the best ever. Like never, ever, ever. I don't know if it's masculine TE, but I can see the spectrum and I know I'm not the best. And I think that's held me back a little bit too. Like I think sometimes thinking you're the best, even if it's in the sense of like I am the best in this time where I'm at is can be healthy because then it can help push you to specialize. So I just knew I wasn't those two. So then it must have been between so which one is specialized? 4?
Three. What?
3.
No,
So
three and
and
four
3
both
is most
specialized.
okay. Um so anyway, it was more of a process of elimination to be fair. Just like I knew like the other 3 weren't me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I must be a 2.
Yeah, I was thinking about your social type and I was like, I was like, you're high friends, so you're definitely two and four. It's impossible. You're like you love people and you love friends. It's just like it's like the most obvious thing about you. It's not even your animals. It's just you. Like when you talk to people, you genuinely like want to talk to them and care, and you actually want to
Yeah.
know. It's not like fake, right? And so I'm like, okay, that means you're two or four, not a
Yep.
one. And then I'm like, I never heard you once say you want to crush someone or like want to be to compete. Like and then I think like your aesthetics, that's from FM, not from
Yes.
Flex. Yeah, it's just like you like aesthetics because you like visuals. You like things to
Yes.
look good and stuff.
Yes.
So I was like, okay. And then not a, yeah, I didn't get the three thing. Like again, you're not demon friends. And then so it's like, okay, what about two and four? And I was like,
Yes.
well, I
That's
remember you
what
talking. Sorry?
yeah, that was me too. I think I was going between 2 and 4 for a period.
Yeah, and I was
But
like,
4 is. What is 4 again?
four is friends and also specialization. So
Mm.
and then you have demon flex. And I was like, so I was thinking about you. I was like, don't think Ashley is. I don't think Ashley is flex last. I think there's some flex there. It's just not like not the savior, but it's there. I can see it. It comes out like subtly. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're smiling. So I think you do see like the flex in you. So it's
Yeah.
not missing. And then
Right.
and I was like, you were telling me that you're planning on starting a business. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean the other types can't start a business, but like I'm just looking at like the life pile. So like the last thing I wanted to ask you then is like, what's your life pile look like then for like career? You know?
Um, terrible. So, okay. How do I describe it? So essentially, I have always done something where I was like self-motivated. I would say the beginning of my career was selling books door to door, which I mentioned a little bit in our first chat. It's how I met my husband. And then after that, I finished school. We had a baby. I did like Mary Kay, did that for a year and decided, nope, I don't like doing makeup. That's just not for me. Then I did jewelry, which I liked more because I liked the faith-based aspect of the business. I liked the accessorizing. I liked learning more about the visuals of putting outfits together. So I did that for 6 years. Then I worked for Stitch Fix for 5 years, which was fine. The thing I didn't like about it was I didn't feel like I could grow. So that was number 1. That was a huge problem. And I had no control over my hours and I didn't like how I felt pressured to prioritize my work over my family. And so I knew I needed to do something and going out on my own it just has more possibilities. So I think that might even be the NE in me as well. Um so right now, it's basically building from scratch, and it's still kind of hard because I know that I'm good at helping people to dress well. Like I'm really good at that, and I am doing it, and I am doing the coaching part, and I'm running a podcast. I do it twice a week. I did break for Thanksgiving so that I could do some sleep, spend time with family. But yeah, so basically, it just looks like a lot of it's some form of entrepreneurship outside of working for Stitch Fix for about 5 years to kind of keep a steady flow of income coming while my husband was, kind of transitioning in his job. So,
That's where you are right now, right? That's where you are.
Yeah. So right now we're both crazy. We're both starting up our own. Well, he's doing Edward Jones, so his is a little different, but he still, I mean, is super. He has to be super responsible for like he's basically running his own business, right?
What's Edward
Like
Jones?
it's almost like a franchise, really. It feels like a franchise kind of form.
What is it?
Edward Jones Financial Advising. Oh yeah, you're in Canada, yeah?
Yeah. It's like, what is
Okay, that
it?
makes sense. It's a financial advisor like company, advising company. So, yeah, and then I'm doing this thing. So, he's still bringing in the bulk of the income, which is great. But it's still not we're tight and it's stressful. But talk to me in 2 years and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm rooting for you. So hopefully.
It's just going to be hell for the next 2. And the thing is I just keep telling myself I'm just like um you only fail if you give up.
Yeah.
And so I won't give up. Then I can't fail. And it'll be
Yeah.
fine.
I think that's like a number two trait also. It's like no excuses, gotta keep at it.
Yes.
Um your husband does come across as a 4 to me though, when I interviewed him.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, look, he can specialize, so I could see that.
Yeah.
He definitely has he doesn't have friends the same way I do. So like I set up the play dates, I've kind of told you that just to be fun. But he has people that he really cares about, but it's really just his family that he prioritizes. And then outside of that, he might a couple times a year reach out himself. But otherwise, I'm usually the one, navigating that.
Does that mean she might be a 3 then?
Who,
Like,
me?
no, your husband, like friendly, but not like save your friends?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't even tried to type him, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah. Just wondering.
Here's
Just
the
wondering.
thing. Here's the thing about Kevin that I just like absolutely admire is going into even this financial advisor thing, brand new business. Um, he's taking all of these tests and he passes them and it's really hard to pass these tests the first time. Uh, it's like a certain percentage that do. And he does. With flying colors. He never thinks he's always nervous about it, right? Cuz it's a lot writing. But it's because he has that TI, like he has that ability to stack that information and the logic
Right.
and like go so damn deep. And he didn't realize that about himself. And actually OPS helped me with that too. Like OPS really helped me to like encourage him in the areas that I could see he was strong because I now had the bigger picture.
Right.
And then he saw it too. And now he's like, holy crap, I can do this.
Nice.
It's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
sweet. Your podcast is in fashion then?
it is. It's faith and fashion. It's called Bold Faith and Fashion. And yeah, it's for Christian women who are working, like midlife women who just want someone to come in and give them a wardrobe that they feel good in, that fits their lifestyle and obviously their work too.
Oh, I see.
So,
And then you have like a partner then? Or are you talking about yourself in the podcast?
dude, it's just me. It's just me. And the faith aspect of it too, it's just kind of like my own little ministry, just a way to kind of like share how you present yourself is tied to your identity and, you know, and how that's tied to our faith too.
So it's like Dave Ramsey because he's Christian and then he does like the finance stuff.
Yeah, similar concept
I see.
where
Okay.
he's able to kind of mix something he's good at with something that he believes in. Yeah, in his
I see.
identity box.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, cool. So part of being a number 2 is let's talk about your minor demon flex. So that's like a weird one because it's like present, but it's a demon. So when does it come out? Like that flex of yours or the
Okay,
comparison?
explain it to me first because again, I haven't looked at it in so long. So explain to me what that would be.
What demon is, what it is, what flex is.
Well, the demon I get, but like tell me a little bit more about flex so I can give you examples.
Yeah, so flex is um to sum it up, there's a part of flex that's status seeking. Like they want to be either the best, they want to achieve, they want to compete. It doesn't have to be aesthetics, although that could be one of the aspects of it. Because aesthetics is flex, kind of like showing off, or bragging. But part of it too is either be the best at like a competition, so you outdo everyone else, number one. Or number two, more like David Goggins, where he's competing in terms of on the character traits. So David Goggins wants to be the toughest guy. So toughest. So he's the toughest. Someone else, let's say, is good at sports, or they're the best at that specific sport. Could be music, could be art, right? And also, some people, especially those with FI, they want to be seen as the most different. So you don't have to be competitive to stand out, to flex. You could be different. You can also flex by being different. So with all those factors in mind, either being different, competitive, character trait based, where do you see your flex coming out? Because I do see it. It's subtle, but I see it coming out in small bits and pieces. So it's not enough like it's like obvious, but I do see it from you. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, no, that's great. That really that clears it up, because I mean that's what I thought like only part really I knew about it was the competitive aspect of it. That's why I was like, hey, give me a little more of a deep dive so I can actually give you a good example. So I'm not really competitive with other people. And I don't know again if that's the DE. I'm more competitive with myself, as in like, am I better today than I was a year ago? So that's I'm always been more competitive with myself. Like singing is one of those things that I wish that I would have done more specialize in, so that I could have, and I'm still like I still do get better over time because it's important to me. But it's one of those things where it's like, if I'm not getting better at this thing, then I'm mad at myself. I don't like want to be better than somebody else. But I will say one thing that I'm struggling with, and this could be the demon flex aspect, is the being different. Like, I don't feel like I have to be different from other people on a normal, everyday basis. I actually think it's silly to try to be different from other people because I think we have a lot more in common with it, lots of just people in general. But like in my business, I will say, like, I'm trying to figure out what the hell the differentiator is. Because I'm like, how am I supposed to be in this industry and be different? And people keep telling me, well, you are the one that's different. Just you being the one presenting it makes you
Oh,
different. And I'm just not buying it. I don't buy it and it bothers me. So what bothers me sometimes is if I'm trying to like bring value to something, whether it's the way that I'm like an idea I'm presenting, or if we're having a conversation, we're doing play, or if it's like TE, if it's an idea, like I need that to be different. Like, otherwise, I don't feel like I'm actually contributing. I'm just adding more noise, you know?
right. Yeah, I can relate
Is
to
that
what you said. No, totally relatable. I mean, obviously, because we're like
Mhm,
such very similar types.
mhm.
Because I do the interviews and stuff, right? And there's so many other interviewers also. So I think people say, we watch your channel because it's you, and I'm like, but what's different about it? It's like it's
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
You're the one that's different. It's like, is it because I'm an ENFP and the other interviewers are, they're in the SE and I axis, and they're like, no, it's because it's you. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. But I get it logically, but like it hasn't sank in emotionally, So I think I kind of get where you're coming from when people say you're different, because you're Ashley, you're just you know, and you don't
Right.
need to prove that through the how. It's just you. It's just freaking you, right? And that part is I think is hard, Yeah.
So so that, and then I do like I was just talking to my daughter about like aesthetically, like I'm not comparing myself to others either that way, but I am very picky, particular about how I look visually. I'm like, I don't care how anybody else wants to show up. If they want to show up in a way that isn't like visually aesthetically pleasing, that's fine. I'm not looking at them and being like, "Oh, right?" Like, no, I'm not doing that. But like I'm very particular about how I show up, and I do feel like that's probably again like a demon flex thing because I'm so picky about my own appearance. Yeah.
Your blast is FM, right? And then your consume is MF.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's kind of interesting because when you blast to someone, you're telling them how they should look, because that's what FM Blast is. And that's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
and that's your job, that's your career. So I think that's so funny that it didn't end up that way. Like,
Yeah. If they want the information, right? Like, I'm like, if you want to know, I'll tell you. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not unkind, but yeah, I'll tell you straight up. Like, nah, that doesn't look good, you know?
So it's also interesting that you said that you're not competitive with other people. What if someone like triggers you? Because for me personally, like it doesn't happen often, but when someone does like trigger me a lot, and then I start thinking like, you know what, I'm gonna crush this person, but that feeling like dissipates after like an hour or something, and then it's like, or and I kind of get annoyed at myself, like I wish I can keep that feeling, it's kind of nice, it's like really motivating,
Yeah.
but it's like faded so quickly, because I just ultimately I just don't care to compete with like other people in that, like unless it's something for fun. I like to compete for fun, but it's not like compete because I want to crush someone. It's for compete just because it's a fun thing, like play, right? Um,
Right.
so um, so you've never had those thoughts where like someone like triggered you and then you got like competitive for like a brief moment and then it kind of faded, you know?
Ugh, well, I'm part of that. I mean, yes, but it just feels so out of my control. So, like, even if I think I deserve a part, because I feel like on the TE spectrum, I do a pretty good job of being realistic with myself. I was just sort of a side tangent. My husband and I were listening to a clip about how women rate themselves versus how men rate themselves and whatever. Like, I'm pretty, like, objective in that way. Like, I know where I am on that scale. Same thing with, like, if I'm in a group of people talent-wise, and a lot of the things that I did competitively were vocal. And the thing was is, like, I was always in small towns, and so I knew, I was like, even if I am better, if I get unlucky and there's a judge that knows a person that knows a person and they are anyway connected to anybody, I may not get first place, or I may get third place, or I may not place at all, even if I'm like the best, which is, and that was kind of like always like my mom was always moving from town to like small dinky town to small dinky town. And so that was kind of always, yeah. And there are people who trigger me, but maybe outwitting them. Like, I think sometimes where I can get a little too cocky is with my NT,
Right.
right? Because it's so easy in my mind to outwit somebody. And so perhaps there, but that is so much more, like you said, it's more subtle and it's not something I have to be like super forceful with. But yeah, I mean, maybe in school it would be grades, something like that. But I don't know. I don't like to compete with people that way, mainly because I don't like the pressure it puts on me, if I'm being honest.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's exhausting, right? So,
It's exhausting because I'm not a one. Like, sometimes I just don't feel like if I look at the spectrum and I don't think I can win, I'm not playing that game.
oh, I see. Fair enough. It's interesting that when it comes to a battle, you go to your double masculine animal because, like you said, you're gonna outwit someone because of the double
Yeah,
masculine anti play, right? Because I have double
right.
masculine SF sleep, so
Ah,
so for me, it's like that's like my go-to, right? But
let me tell you where I was the most now I'm trying to where I was the most mean and defensive, and where my like, I would say maybe it was more of my flex, like, being competitive with people would be, like, if I was protecting someone else. So, like,
oh,
in
I see.
middle school, my best friend, if she had people who were, like, bullying her, and I would go up there and I would just lay them flat, you know, TE, any TE, just lay them flat. And people didn't mess with me. People still don't mess with me because I'm willing to speak my mind. Again, I'm an adult now, I'm more mature. I'm probably not gonna say the things that I said back then, you know?
Yeah,
But yeah, gosh, I need to get more competitive, I think.
yeah, yeah. It definitely helps. Because like I mentioned, to you, I'm interview. Yeah, like you're the fifth person I'm interviewing today, and like I got a chance to interview every single social type today, which was super cool. Um,
Alright,
and then like I'm trying to do more sleep also, so I'm like trying to put myself in the shoes of the person I'm interviewing social type. Like earlier, is it today or is it yesterday? I'm losing track now. No, yesterday I interviewed Annie, the play last ENFP that you guys were together before for that.
Yeah.
And then
Awesome.
she's a number 3, right? And then when she was telling me her story, I was like kind of putting myself in her shoes, and I was like, man, there's so much benefit to being a number 3. I didn't even think about that because like I feel like the way David Chan describes number 3 is so bad. Like you guys are irresponsible number 3. So I'm like, but are they that bad? Because like when I talked to Annie, I was like, you guys are doing so much good stuff, you know. I think your description is terrible. Like the branding for number 3 is awful in my opinion. I think it should be changed. But anyway, so yeah, so I was putting myself in the shoes of number 3, where like um let's say a number 3 wants to start a business. So Annie has she sells earrings, right, on Etsy. So number 3s are craftsmen, right? So they put so much effort into their craft that the craft sells itself. Like you don't need as much marketing. So she said that on Etsy people steal each other's ideas all the time, but no one steals her earrings because there's too much work to steal it. It's not worth it. So because she put so much effort into it, so it's so unique that it's that's where the flex is coming in. So unique, it cannot be stolen. It's hard to steal, right? So as a result, it's selling decently on Etsy just because it's hard to emulate. So the competition not stealing it, right? And then she works as a massage person, but she massages with her feet, right? So like again, she has no competition, and she puts a lot of effort into like being the best feet massager. Like when I say feet massager, she's massaging you with her feet, right? She's like walking. So it's like I was like, man, those 3s are doing something right, because like the freaking 1s and 2s with their stupid gimmicks. David Chan calls it a scam, but it's like it's really a gimmick, right? You have a gimmick, right? It's like if you really just perfected your work, it would speak for itself, and you don't need to do all this damn marketing. Like it would just speak for itself. So I felt like, man, those 3s really get a flack. Like they're doing something right, and obviously there are problems when their business becomes bigger and they have to scale. In that case, they don't know what to do, right? But then for us, who's like a number 2, if we're building a business, we're trying to scale right away when we're actually supposed to be working a craft, right? So that's sort of the problem. So yeah. And then I think the number 1s, I think what I thought was like really interesting was like trying to put myself in their shoes. I was like, okay, if I was a 1 and my competition was like YouTube, what would I do? And I started picturing myself like as a number 1. I'm like, oh, I get it now. Number 1s is very decider like. So I would have to take pictures of other YouTubers that is in the personality space and put a hit list. And then every time I'll get more subscribers than them, I'll put an X in their face. So that's kind of like how I was thinking like it would work. So I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. So that's how it would work. And I was like, I wonder if I should try it. I tried like all the different stuff, like try the specialization stuff, try the number 1s, because those are my blind spot, right? So like I don't know for how you would do it for you. Like again, have the faces of the people in the other fashion industry, and like I'm gonna X beat this person, like have a kill list, and the other thing I was thinking about, Ashley, is sorry to cut you off. One last was what I really like about the number 1s is their willingness to tap into the darkness to get ahead. Because humans are both light and dark, right? In Christianity, everyone's a sinner, right? So so when you're gonna crush someone has to lose, right? And but then you can tap into that because everyone has a darkness, right? But you don't have to actually crush that person. You can just use that as fuel, kind of like what Gary Vee said, like have a chip on your shoulder, get success, but then don't get revenge once you get the success. It's just like, okay, be kind after, but use it as a motivator to get to the top. And so it's like, I was like, man, that's so good. Like use the darkness of like wanting to destroy someone, but don't actually destroy them. It's like, just use it to get to a certain point, right? So I really admire that.
Friendly. Well, it's just like even like competing with somebody who you believe like I can do this better. It's like they're doing great. They've built this thing. I totally get it. But if I did the same thing for the same amount of time, I could do it better, and I could do it like more holistically or more wholesomely or whatever. Like just really, like I want to be so much better because I know I can. It just feels like that should be part of it.
It's funny you use the word so much better, because I feel like for me it's like I can do it so much different, because it's either different or better. So I don't know if that's your TE talking there, and that was my FI talking there. because FI is
Yeah.
different, right? So T is like better. So I'm like, oh, interesting. So for you, it's like better, do it better.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Different is
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. Um, and the last one is flex, or sorry, specialization. So that's your like last social type that you would have the most struggle with. Can you talk about like having trouble specializing, just focusing on one thing and not like spinning your wheels and overwhelming yourself doing so many things?
right. Yeah, specialize is because I also think with SI at the bottom, it's like what I want to do. Like I like to be able to sit down and do. I think that is the thing about me saying, "Oh, I look at the spectrum and I think, gosh, I can't do anything super great because I'm not specializing in anything." And then I feel guilty about it. And yeah, I just to answer your question, I don't sit down for 15 minutes a day and do a lot of things consistently. It's that SI, routine of, being able to. I mean, again, fashion is probably the only thing, fashion and singing. And even singing, it's like I don't do as much as I could to actually specialize in such a way that, like, I'm an amazing singer because 'cause I'm not. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say about that other than I, like, wish I could, and I know I can, but I just don't.
I see. That's where fashion comes in then, because that's like your constant.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying because it's like the things that I'm good at, it's like I'm only good at them because I've had to be. Outside of singing, like, of course, I'm good at fashion because I'm visual and I have to get clothes on every day. It's the same thing with cooking. It's like I have to eat every day. Of course, I'm good at cooking. But I mean, I know not everybody gets good at those things, but it just doesn't feel, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's a huge accomplishment by any means. Nothing that I do feels like a huge accomplishment and in any way.
Oh, it sounds like you're not giving yourself enough credit on anything whatsoever. There's like always like a reason for something. It's not like because it is like you are good at something, you have a talent for something. It's like I have a talent because I'm visual. Yay, it's like what? Like what is this shit? Like what is this shit? You know?
I know, but it's like, again, it's like on the spectrum, it's so hard because it's like, sure, except for how many other people have the same talent who are making way more money than I am doing the
Oh,
same fucking thing
hey, you're the only visual NETE.
so far, but I'll take it.
Yeah, it's something. No, but even if there was another one, it's still super rare. Even if it's like two of you or three of you, there's like, and no one knows right now that like only you know that you're a visual ENFP NETE. Like even if there's another one, they don't know, and they don't know their blind spot. They don't know what they're good at, but you do. So you have a competitive advantage because you know something they don't. It's like you know what David Chan used to say about infodoms: knowledge is power. So there you go, knowledge is power.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
for
I
me,
gotta get there. I'm just, I'm just like in the frustrated phase right now because I'm like, I see like people doing the things and I know like I have to build from the ground up. And it's
yeah.
like, I think part of it is SI at the bottom, but part of it is just like you said, maybe, I need to stop looking at the spectrum and just, like I said, go into the competitive edge and just be like, okay, nope, I'm just good at this thing and just do it.
Um, since you brought up frustration, we could talk about that too, like about like emotion that you struggle with, because like it's something that I've been working on personally, but back to the advantage thing before we channel change real quick. I think you can definitely use that your type as an advantage because like for me, I'm the only blaster ENFP. Like how many ENFPs do you know have Savior Blast, right? Like
Yeah.
no one in the community. I'm the only one, right? Um, so it's like, oh my God, I have this advantage that no other ENFPs have, and I'll take it. I'll take whatever I can get, right? So for you, it's like you're the only FM NET. So it's like gotta take what you got, what you have, right? Because it's all it's something, better than nothing, right? And then and going to the emotion thing now. When you're talking about frustration, because I'm in the same boat as you, I feel like frustrated. So when I was younger, the emotion I struggled with the most, like FISI, is like number one was sadness, which was correlated to my dad. Second one was
Yep.
anger, which was correlated to my mom, and then loneliness, right? Loneliness because I kept getting friend zoned by by the girls that I like, and the ones that were interested in me was the ones I didn't like, right? And then like, obviously later on I realized, I'm like, oh wait a minute, I'm also friend zoning girls, so I'm not the one being friend zoned, like, and then also like the ones that were friend zoning me, some of them actually liked me at first, I just didn't pursue them. So
Ah,
yeah, so I'm like, oh, I friend zone myself, so that's my fault, right? So um so that used to be like all the three emotion I struggled with, but then I actually like worked in it, because like my process now is like, um what emotion am I struggling with? Number one. Number two is like, how is it my fault? And then number three is like, what am I gonna do about it? Right. And then because I'm kinesthetic, and because I'm what's the word I'm looking for here? Sleep last. I do all my sleep processing on the elliptical. So I go on the elliptical for like 30 minutes to 1 hour, and I'm like, I'm not gonna listen to music, I'm gonna just like move. I'll close my eyes, even I'm moving, closing my eyes, and I'm gonna think about my feelings and like go through the process of all three. So like I recently did this because like I lost a job. I got terminated from a job, and I was like
okay.
emotionally triggered. So I went to the gym. I went to elliptical for like an hour, and I was like processing it. And I remember I went through like several different emotions. The first one was like, um first one was kind of like a sinking feeling, not quite depression yet, but like a sinking feeling. I felt defeated, right?
Yeah.
And then it was followed by, um I felt fear, because like I was depending on this job to pursue my dreams and goals, right? And then now it's gone. I'm kind of like in a bad situation. And then the next emotion was like exposed. I felt exposed, right? I felt exposed because what I'm part of the reason why I got let go from the job was because I'm not. I just suck at the job. Frankly, there's no way to say it. I suck at it, and you know, and also, you get paid to work like 8 hours a day or something. I was like, I was really only working 5 hours, which is like, that's normal for most people who work in the jobs anyways. Like I asked my girlfriend, I'm like, how many, when you were working at your job, how many hours did you actually work? It's like 2 out of 8 or something, you know. So I was like, okay, so I that's how I processed it. And then the last emotion was like relief. I was like, you know what, I hated this job anyways. I'm actually
Yeah.
relieved I'm gone. So um and I was like thinking about like my emotion that I'm struggling with right now, and the first one was like frustration, because like I'm trying to get my business off the ground, but it's like still taking some time. It's gonna take some time. I think it will eventually take off, but it takes some time. So I feel frustrated because I want it to be like going already, right? And I can start scaling, because I freaking hate doing all the specialization bullshit, right? And then but then my attitude toward that is kind of changing now, especially after talking to Annie, where it's like, oh, if you just like really think of it as a craft, like don't think about the business, like making money, think about it as like a craft that you're honing, then like the attitude towards it changes, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, frustration is definitely the number one emotion. I still have like the anger, but it's different. It's like my anger is from feeling disrespected, but that's my fault because I disrespect the SF. So I need to work on the SF. I actually have a buddy that went up to me. He's like, Kendrick, we need to change your hairstyle, and then he's like, oh, and then it's crazy. I went to like a party like a week ago, and then it's like some kind of entrepreneurship party. He went up to this girl there who's like an image consultant, and she's like dressed in the nines, right? And then my friend was like, she can help you, Kendrick, dress nice. And I'm like, oh my god, like, well, I'm SF last. I'm getting low blood left and right here, But like I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be open to it, because like obviously, um, a lot of people who have their sleep animal and they put so much pride in it. It's like it's not helping you. So you should take your sleep animal and turn it to play, and that's not really the best way to do it. So that's like, so when I went to that, I'm like, okay, I feel better, like I'm just gonna turn to the SF sleep to SF play. So I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? He's like, okay, grow your hair out, we'll change it or something. That's what he told me. And then what was the other thing? Yeah, and I still have Sandisk, but before it was for my dad, now it's for my sister, right? Because our relationship's not where it's at. So with all that stuff being said, do you have something similar to that, where like you have like certain emotional words, and then struggles with each of them? I know frustrations, you just mentioned that. So okay, let's talk about that then. Where's your frustration attached to?
I get frustrated with myself, and a lot of it, at least there's some self-awareness now with the digging that I've done. I get frustrated that, I'm not as consistent as I want to be. I get frustrated that I don't always prioritize the things that I know are most important. So I'm not like always listening to my FI. or and the funny thing about skipping over my FI, but it still being second is I'm way more aware than if I was like a TE lead of what's important to me, but I just like don't do it anyway, or I get caught up in what needs to get done now, which I think is pretty typical, but it just happens to me a lot more often because of just the way that my brain works. Um, so I get frustrated with myself. I get frustrated that I get frustrated that I want perfection, but I can't seem to achieve it. And I mean that more in the specialization category because I realize that perfection isn't achievable, but like I see that there is like specialization exists and I admire it so much probably because it's lost, right? And I get frustrated with that. Anger is a big one for me. Um, and that's tied to a lot of different things, mostly childhood and whatnot. But it's a safer emotion. It's a more acceptable emotion, I think, generally, like societally. Like you can be angry, and most people are like, oh, yeah, that's fine. You can be angry. But if you're like really, really tender or upset, for the most part, that was unacceptable. I think it's more so now, but almost too and over it's over accepted maybe now, but
Yeah, it is for sure.
anyway, yeah, so those are probably the two. And then passion. Like I'm very deeply passionate actually about the things that I really care about. It's just the things that I'm really passionate about aren't necessarily things that I wanna monetize. I think that's again might be an FI thing because it's like, I'm passionate about eating well, but I don't wanna monetize that. I'm really passionate about homeschooling my kids, but I don't really wanna monetize that either. Um, and there are other things that I'm passionate about that are a little more controversial, but yeah, and again, but it's just not things that I wanna monetize. So, like, but yeah, so those are probably my top 3 emotions that all the time.
So,
Intensity, I get that a lot. My husband tells me how intense I am. So,
oh yeah, maybe from double masculine play, like you can come across as
he likes
intense.
it.
What's that?
He likes it, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I can relate to your husband because like when I make friends too, I can't make friends with normal people. I have to make friends with like really crazy, like really intense people, like really aggressive or really weird. Like I have to make friends with like really intense kind of people. Like I can't function with like normal people. Like my girlfriend has like more normal friends. I hang with them. I can't hang with any of these people. They're talking about boring. We're talking about normal boring stuff, and I can't handle it. You know. So like I said, I make friends with someone that like talks about crazy stuff that's inappropriate. I'm like, okay, this is my zone. You know.
That
Um,
might be your masculine FI.
what's that?
That might be your masculine FI. I feel like
Yeah,
that's a
it could be. Yeah, yeah. I especially like when people like talk a lot of shit to me because I think I'm a double feminist play, but I have double
yeah.
masculine inner world. So like if people talk really harshly to me, I'm like, it doesn't I don't get offended at all. Like I actually like it. Like I get fired up by it, you know.
See, and I'm double feminine, so that, SF, so that's I'm, like, big on, like, we don't make fun of each other. We say things as they are, n we don't really tease at our house, and that's again, I just realized that I have that double feminine inside, squishy inside.
Oh, you're like they're just super sensitive inside. So it's
It's not that if you tell me the truth, that's okay. I might not like it, but, like, that's fine. But if you're just, like, trying to hurt my character, then, for just to be mean or just to joke around, I really struggle with that. Because like, to me, it's just, like, there are certain things that aren't funny. I don't know. But my husband, he gets it, so then I don't have to deal with it.
so when you listen to music, you listen to more like tender, friendly music then?
I mean, yeah, I would say my preference is the stereotypical, probably SF. Yeah, romantic type of I love my favorite thing on the planet is male-female duets.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, those are
love
good.
songs, love them.
Yeah, I like them when I was younger, like the R&B. Like yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um yeah. I think for me though, like I like all that stuff. I like music in general because I'm audio, but like the one that I really get fired off is like Eminem, like something that's really angry and like and whatnot. Then I that's what I really like because it triggers my double masculine SF. I don't know, like, can you listen to those kind of music then? Like the really angry rap music or no?
Okay, so, like, the closest thing I can think of to that is, like, Amy Mann. She had a greatest hits CD, you know? And so some of those were more aggressive in the music that I like to listen to, but yeah. Voices Carry was an Amy Mann that was part of when she was, I think, like, the Cranberries or something. Anyways, not really. I never listened to rap very much, and I didn't listen to, like, hard rock. I really like soft rock kinda stuff, like, I liked that a lot. Um, yeah, my high school sweetheart listened to, like, a lot of, like, Metallica type stuff, that genre, but he was probably masculine FI, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I like those depressing music too, like Linkin Park. I really like those ones.
Yeah, Linkin Park wasn't bad. They were good. They got some good stuff.
Yeah, because I like the depressive tone of it. I was like, oh, this is great for my FI because FI is like very, I don't know about your FI, but mine's like very melancholy. Like it's like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's like people with FI are nuts, honestly. But like, um,
Yeah. FI is weird. FI is very weird. And mine is just such a baby. It's so hard. But when I pair it with the TE, like the masculine TE, it's actually really cool. If I can speak with my TE, like vocally, you can hear my TE, but then you hear my feminine FI behind it.
yeah,
It's very powerful, actually, if I can blend the two.
yeah. You know what? When I talk to you, I see you swinging between them. It's kind of it's really interesting. Like the feminine
Mm.
FI and the masculine TE. It's like a huge change too in your like demeanor. So it's yeah, it's I think
Yeah.
like feminine FI is very intense. When it comes out, it's very easy to see. You know, like Ed Milet in the classes.
Yeah.
You see that
Yeah.
video when he was with the what's his name? The minister guy. What's his name? John Maxwell.
Oh,
Um,
I loved it. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if you saw that interview that they made a video together, and then like Ed Milet was like so feminine FI. He's like, oh, I really like you. It's like I was like, I
Yes.
love feminine FI. It's so good.
I know. It's like one of those things, like, I was trying to talk to my husband the other day because my husband has grown a lot. Like, he just kinda listens to some of the things I say, and he'll, like, over time, like, as he has time to process and TI them, he comes around on some stuff, and I just love him crazy. Like, he's like, seriously, ISTPs really are the best type because they just, if you make it make sense, they get it. And so, anyways, I was trying to tell him, like, God, I'm just so grateful for you. And then all of a sudden I'm like bawling because all I'm saying is I'm grateful for him. But it's like, I do. It's just like, I love you so much. FI is just, it just is. It's just weird, but it's endearing if
Yeah,
it's with the right person.
it's genuine, which is good. Like
It's definitely, but you're right, it's very intense if you're not comfortable with it.
yeah,
So, I can't even tell my friends if I don't feel like they're in the same place that I am, like, I would not tell my friends how I feel about them because, like, I also think feminine FI is just more likely to connect and, like, capture someone. I don't feel like feminine FI is technically as guarded as maybe it should be.
yeah,
So, like I said, there's a lot of people who I just, like, deeply care for just because, just because, like, and that's not always reciprocated. So I have to be careful because I could tell them something like that and have tears in my eyes to tell them, like, "I care about you so much." And they'd be like, "Well, I don't really feel that way about you." Like,
they
what
feel
do I
awkward.
you know what I mean? Like, what do I do with that? So I try to just, like, keep that to myself.
It Feminine FI feels like it's like a balloon full of emotions, and you can like prick it at any time. It'll burst, and
Yeah,
it's just and it'll explode, and it's like out of control. Like it'll just come out, and it's like really shocking when it comes out because it's all bottled up, right?
yeah.
It's like it
It
bottles
can
up, and it pops, right? And then it looks very FE like actually when it comes out because it's like
yeah,
because it's so strong, right? Well, like I don't know. It's like you're saying that you have to be careful with how you present your emotion because it can come
yeah.
across as like maybe too much, and they might not reciprocate those feelings. I think for me, what I'm noticing with myself is with a double masculine SF sleep. it's like, and double feminine play, it's like, Kendrick, what are you doing? Why do you keep making yourself look weak, like on purpose? Like I'm purposely making myself look weak and like wimpy. I always do it all the time. Like I notice when I do interviews or I talk to someone, I'm like, I'm making myself look weak on purpose. Like, what the hell? Like, like, no, I'm not. I'm really aggressive. I'm really aggressive. If like, but then I feel like people can't handle it, so I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
Like I have a few friends that I hang out with, and then the double masculine sleep is out all the time. Oh my god, I'm just screaming at them all the time, saying the most horrible things, and and that's like my natural state, right? And I'm really
Sure.
offensive. I'm really offensive too. Like if you see my girlfriend, she'll tell you, it's like, oh my god, Kendrick's always saying like, I mean, she loves it. That's why we're together, right? Like she,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to like bring it out and like I had another friend who told me, he's like, Kendrick, the secret to doing well in business, especially if you're doing like an online thing, kind of like an online thing, like YouTube or something, it's like
Yeah.
to just be 100% you, and people are gonna hate it and people are gonna love it, and it's gonna be both. It's gonna be both, and the one that hates it is gonna feel bad, and the one who's gonna love it, it's gonna feel good. Shan told me the same thing actually in my audio. You know, he's like, you just have to be 100% you. And I'm like, damn, but people can't handle it. It's too offensive. People already got upset at me before when I said some offensive jokes. So, you know,
Yeah. Well, and I think I struggle a little bit with that too because of the double masculine NETE.
yeah,
Because the reality is like I'm trying to be more I'm trying to like be okay with that. Like I did a podcast about is Halloween redeemable on and that's like pretty right. And I was like really honest. Like I had my play out and I had that and I let the FI out. But like I agree, it can be hard to be yourself in this public sphere because it's like especially as an ENFP, like, or double decider, because it's like, we get it. Sometimes we're jerks. So are you. It's like, can I just be myself? And if something offends you, I will take it into consideration. It doesn't mean that I'm going to change my words all the time, but I will take it into consideration, especially if I'm talking to you,
right,
because I do care about your feelings because I'm a decent human being, but I still want to be myself. And it's like we know as double deciders that not everybody's a double decider. We know
right,
that people are going to do this. And like for the most part, we don't care. But it's like at the same time, it's like, okay, but I'm double deciding. So I kind of still want to be not a butthead all the time. So it's like,
yeah, yeah. That's and that's 100% on point, especially with like the not everyone's a double decider. I'm like, oh my god, some decider is gonna freak out and take what I say
yeah,
literally when I'm just like messing around because I'm a freaking double decider, and you know,
I'm not serious. Or I am serious, but like realize that you need to double decide and you need to, see like, hey, not everybody looks at things the same way you do. Not everybody is going to be as offended as you are. Some people need to hear this information. Some people don't. It's fine. Take it or leave it. You don't have to like have this response. If you don't like me, unfollow me. Don't listen to me anymore. Like chill out.
do you think it's also because of savior responsibility, where you're like, I need to be responsible for everyone's feelings also, so you know, like you take it into consideration instead of just saying whatever the hell you want, you know.
um Oh, I think there are so many facets of it. So, like, I'm trying to figure out how I can approach even just like the faith aspect of it. Cause, like, one thing that I'm trying to work on, but I'm not always good at is my sailor mouth sometimes, especially like in the like believer Christian field. And I don't intentionally do it. Like, I can go in spurts where I won't swear for months. And then I have spurts where I'm just like really dropping words I shouldn't be dropping. And it's like, stuff like that. Like, I wish that I could have, like, a little bit more but here's the thing. In the field of Christianity, you actually get more blowback from people who are Christians, and that's just the way it is because I don't know, it has its own dynamic of, competitiveness and inauthenticity and are is everybody in this sphere really, as grace-filled as they should be? Are they really in their Bibles like they say they are? I don't know. I don't really care. It's not really my job to figure it out. But there is like a certain like mob that comes after you if you don't have like hit certain expectations. But at the same time, I'm like, I also know that, if I am called to say something or speak something, it doesn't matter. Like, I just have to do it. So it's responsibility, but it's also like just knowing that there's expectations placed within the sphere in which that I'm passionate about and would like to like speak to and through that make it difficult, especially being double masculine play.
I mean, there's nothing in Christianity that says you can't swear. Like, I don't. It's not in the Ten Commandments, and the
Well,
prerequisite to go to heaven. Like, you don't
it's
have to
not.
pray to Jesus, right, to
I
go to
mean,
heaven. So
yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's not the thing. Like I said, I know I'm saved. That doesn't really. It's not really that as much. I do know that there is scripture, and I can't remember if it's in the Old Testament that says to remove like filthy language, from your mouth. And the thing is again, it's like, yep, uh, but I'm not going to do everything perfectly all the time. And I know the Lord knows my heart and he knows like, okay, there are times where I'm trying and I'm doing really good and there's other times I'm not. And that's okay. That doesn't mean anything. But I'm just saying like there's that and it's not just that. It has to do with like there's so many different doctrines, right? It's like, oh, you misspoke. Like I see it with Beth Moore, for example, is a really big Christian speaker in the women's ministry field. And dear God, I see articles on her all the time of just different things that, oh, she said this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, guys, give her a break. You probably caught her on a time where she was like stressed out. Maybe she got called, by her mother in law. And then her daughter called and told her some bad news. And then you asked her this stupid question about doctrine that we have no way of proving whether it's right or wrong in this particular area. And you're going to be critical of that just to sell headlines. Okay.
yeah, well, yeah, it's obviously for the headlines. So,
Well,
um,
that's the thing. Like, I need to stop projecting those things out and just like put my head down and not worry about it.
which kind of Christian are you? There's so many Christian like groups. So
See? Um, I am Bible believing, I guess. What would you say? I don't like subscribe to a particular like section of Christianity. But very like biblical based. I would say conservative would be a good word. Christian. So yeah, I don't say I'm yeah,
yeah, because
particular.
I just interviewed Leon like 2 days ago, and he's like, what's what's the word he looked? There's like a specific word he used, non-denomination or something, Christian.
Sure.
Yeah,
See, the problem is I can't really say that either because I don't wanna be
yeah.
grouped with anyone specifically, but,
There's like born
yeah,
again Christian. There's like Catholic. There's Protestant. I'm born and raised Catholic. I'm not super
sure.
religious anymore.
Yeah,
But that's what I was raised at. So I'm aware of like the Bible stuff. Uh,
yeah.
and there's also like Protestants, obviously, which is created by that king in England. And then
If I sat down and was like, "Here's what I believe," I could probably write it all out at some point. But it's like, essentially like, for example, something that I have discovered just, like, reading my Bible is that when the Lord returns, when Jesus returns and everybody's resurrected, we'll be celebrating the feasts, like the Jewish feasts. And, God commanded that we celebrate the Jewish feasts, but it wasn't like a command like the 10 commandments. If you don't do it, like you're breaking some kind of law, especially because we're not Jewish. And then the Bible talks about that. But like my husband and I have started going to and celebrating the feasts because they're also prophetic and they kind of point us to like the different scriptures that are fulfilled. And those are things that like for some reason aren't being taught in the churches. So like I would say I am really deeply passionate about what scripture says and like doing my best to align myself with what it says by not only like having my own spiritual life, like through prayer and through my own Bible study, but then like checking it, among other Christian believers who are also passionate about the Bible. Like creationism, for example. I'm not saying it's like absolutely 100% what it is, but like I think it definitely has some clout, but I'm also open to there being, like, other aspects of it. But right now, I'm like, "Well, creationism sounds good to me." I mean,
oh,
it's more complicated than that, but you know what
you're
I'm saying.
so feminine, SI. He's like, don't care about the label so much. I believe good enough. Kind of deal. Um,
Right, right. I mean, it is, and I just wanna make sure that look, the Lord said that I have to believe in him and give my life to him, and I have done that, personality change and all. And so, yeah, I know that that's the basics, and then beyond that, I'm commanded to just tell the world that that's who I am and answer questions if I can about it.
Okay. All right, Ashley, I think we should wrap up the interview here. So, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for coming out and sharing more about your progress so far, working on your double feminine SF sleep last. I think the cool thing is at least you're aware of which emotion you're struggling with. Frustration is the big one. So now at least you can start NTing how to like figure that stuff out.
Yes.
And then also like just narrowing down your social type based on elimination, which I think is really cool. It's like, well, I'm not this and this and this, so I have to be this, right? So I think that's super cool. And then also just there was another thing I wanted to mention, but I forgot. Anyways, don't worry about it. So yeah, it's good to talk to you again.
Yes. Thanks, Kendrick.
All right, take care. Bye bye.